All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to try and wrap our heads around one of the most wild, most mind-bending philosophical ideas of the 20th century, Jean Baudrillard's theory of simulacra and simulation. We're going to try and figure out, what exactly happened to the real world.
And boom, right out of the gate, he hits us with this quote. It kind of feels like the floor just vanished, doesn't it? Well, that's the whole idea. So let's go down the rabbit hole together and really unpack what Baudrillard meant by this, the idea that truth itself might just be the biggest illusion of all.
So, to get our bearings in all this, we're actually going to start with a pretty classic fable. It's a simple story about a map and an empire, but trust me, it holds the key to this entire really complex idea.
Okay, so the old story goes something like this. The cartographers of an empire got so good at their job they created a map that was incredibly detailed. So detailed, in fact, that it was the exact same size as the empire itself, covering the land completely. But, over time, the empire collapsed and the map was just left to rot in the sun, leaving only tattered little shreds in the desert. In this version of the story, it's super clear. Reality, the territory, always comes first. The map just follows.
Now this is where Baudrillard comes in and just flips the whole thing completely on its head. He asks this radical, super disruptive question. What if the representation, the model, what if the map doesn't follow reality anymore? What if it actually comes before it?
And this is his central claim, right here. We've gone from a world where maps describe the territory to a world where our maps literally create the territory. I mean, just think about it for a second. Think about social media algorithms, economic models, the 24-hour news cycle. These things aren't just reflecting our world anymore. They are actively shaping and generating the real that we all experience. The map now comes first.
Okay, so if we're living in a world that's being generated by these models, how in the world did we get here? Well, Baudrillard lays out this four-stage journey of the image. You can think of it like a roadmap that shows how our connection to reality just kind of dissolved, one phase at a time. But hang on. First, there's this really crucial distinction we need to make. To dissimulate is just to hide something that's real. Like pretending you're not sick when you actually have a cold. The truth, the sickness, is still there, you're just covering it up. But to simulate? That's different. That's to fake having something you don't, like faking the symptoms of an illness. And this, right here, this is where it gets dangerous. Simulation doesn't just hide the truth, it completely messes with the very difference between what's true and what's false.
And that leads us to this, the 4 steps of reality's decay. So let's walk through it with a modern example. Say an influencer's Instagram post. Okay, phase 1. The image is a good, solid reflection of reality. It's a candid photo of a beautiful sunset on vacation. It's a faithful copy of a real moment. Phase 2. Now the image starts to mask and distort reality. It's a heavily filtered, perfectly staged photo designed to project this idealized life, hiding all the stress and chaos of actual travel. Now, phase 3 is a huge leap. The image now masks the absence of a profound reality. This is a sponsored post. The influencer is literally performing happiness for a brand. There's no real vacation underneath it all. It's just a job pretending to be leisure. And then finally, we hit phase 4. The image has absolutely no connection to reality whatsoever. It's a post from a virtual, AI-generated influencer who doesn't even exist, promoting a product that doesn't exist to an audience that believes they're real. It's a copy with no original. Pure simulacrum.
So that fourth phase, this world of pure copies without originals, that's what Baudrillard calls the hyperreal. Let's take a look at a few of his famous examples to really get a feel for what it's like to live inside the map.
So here's the textbook definition for you. The generation by models of a real without origin or reality. But in simple terms, it's a reality that feels more real than real, but it's totally artificial. It's a world where the signs and symbols for the real have completely replaced the real thing itself.
Baudrillard's classic example here is Disneyland. He argued that its whole purpose isn't just to be some imaginary funland. No, it's presented as fake to make us all believe that everything outside the park, Los Angeles, America, is real. But in truth, he says, America itself has become this giant simulation. And Disneyland is just a clever decoy to hide that fact. It makes you think of all these curated brand universes, or the metaverse, right? They seem separate, but they're actively shaping our reality.
Okay, next up, Watergate. For Baudrillard, this was never a real scandal that exposed corruption. Nope, it was a simulated scandal. Its whole job was to make everyone believe in the fundamental morality of the political system by pretending to root out one bad apple. It was a performance that hid the much more unsettling idea that the entire system just runs on cynicism, not principles. It was like a jolt of electricity to reboot our faith in the whole thing.
And finally, maybe the ultimate example of the hyperreal. Nuclear war. Think about it. The constant threat of nuclear war. The endless simulations of it in war rooms and strategic models. That's what truly governs global politics. It's a hyperreal event that never actually has to happen to be incredibly effective. Its simulation is powerful enough to freeze the entire world in this balance of terror, and it prevents any real event from ever shaking up the system.
So after that whole trip, through the 4 phases and deep into the hyperreal, we're left with a pretty bizarre and unsettling new way of looking at the world around us.
And this brings us right back to that fable about the map. Baudrillard calls our current situation the desert of the real. The actual territory, that unmediated, authentic reality, is decayed. It's disappeared. We are now left wandering across the map, a world made entirely of simulations, with only tiny, scattered fragments of the real left behind.
And so that really leaves us with this final, challenging question. I mean, if our reality is built out of models and social media feeds and deepfakes, which version are you living in? In this desert of the real, what are the maps that are generating your territory? It's a really dizzying thought for sure, but it's one that might just change the way you see, well, everything.